Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is my first video of the new year 2022, which is so exciting. I'm just so excited for what my channel will become this year and just my life in general, just after just getting married and starting a new year. Like, I'm just really excited for what's to come with work, you know, my marriage, home, everything. So I'm just super excited and feeling very refreshed going into 2022. As I mentioned, I just got married on December 21st of 2021. So our wedding date is 12/21/21. I get so many DMs on Instagram just asking if I can sort of go over everything into wedding planning, because we got engaged in July of last year. So I did plan basically the entire wedding in like 5 months, which is pretty fast, but honestly, when I was doing it, I was like, it doesn't seem that fast, if that makes sense. Like, when you say like 5 months of an engagement, that seems like that's not a lot of time to plan a wedding, but when you're doing it, it's really not that bad. So I have like a note on my phone here, just all about my December wedding, and just want to go over everything that I put into my wedding, and then I'll go over my wedding timeline too. So first and foremost, when you're planning a wedding, the first thing that you need is a venue. Like, where's the wedding taking place at? So going into that, you can either decide, okay, we want this wedding date, so we're just gonna see what venues have this specific date available, and then you can go about it that way. Us, on the other hand, we were like, we don't really care what day. Like, we weren't set on an exact date, so we just picked some venues that we liked, and then once we found our venue that we were like, we want to get married here, then we said, okay, what dates do you have available? So for our venue, we were like, do you have any dates available this year left? And they were like, yeah, we do. So we were just looking at the December times that they had available, and we were like, let's do this day. So yeah, we didn't really care about the day, but then obviously that day is so special to us now, and we were like, that's such a cute date. We're so glad that we went with that date. So that's how we went about planning our venue, which is the very first thing that I did in the planning process. And for the wedding, I basically planned everything, and then my husband Johnny planned like our entire honeymoon. So he was kind of like, you do the wedding, like I will, whatever you choose, I will like it, and I'll plan the honeymoon. And I was like, that sounds great. So once you have a date and a venue, those are the two most important things. Then I personally went about looking at photographers and videographers, because the photos are so important to me, because it's your special day, it's your big day. You only get one wedding, well, typically only one wedding. So I wanted, you know, our photos to be something that we love and that we could look back on forever and love how they turned out. So we already knew which photographer we wanted to do our wedding, so I immediately reached out to her once we had a wedding date, and I was like, do you have this date available? Please, Lord, have this date available, because we want you so bad. And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. So we got her booked really soon. Like, I think like a week after we got engaged, we got our photographer booked. And our wedding photos turned out amazing. I will put Katie's up here. She does so good. She's based out of Arizona, but flew to us here in Texas, and she's literally the best. The next thing I would do is a videographer, which we actually did have a videographer in July. As we got closer, like 3 weeks before our wedding, he was like, I actually can't do your wedding. So that was stressful. I don't recommend doing that. But I am like glad that that happened, because the videographer we ended up getting was so good. We love his work. We don't have our wedding video back yet, but we have a little preview, and he was so easy to work with. So definitely recommend him. I'll put his username up here. And yeah, I don't recommend waiting until 3 weeks before your wedding to get a videographer. So I would do that pretty soon when you're booking a photographer. Also, look into videographers. We also wanted a film photographer there, but it was one of our friends who we had known, so I reached out to her pretty quickly after we got engaged, just making sure that she could do film photos for our wedding. It turned out great, so we got all of that booked pretty soon into being engaged. The next thing on my list was making sure that our bridal party knew like when the wedding was happening, if they were going to be in it, like our friends asking which friends to be in the wedding, which I think is important to let them know as soon as you know a date. Let them know really soon after that, especially if it's out of state or something. You know, they're going to have to make travel arrangements, and even if it's not out of state for them, they still should know, like, oh, I'm in this wedding. I need to prepare for that financially and just mentally too. So after you have asked all of your bridal party to be in the wedding and you know who's going to be in it, the next thing that we looked at was food and like what kind of theme and colors we were kind of going for. I knew pretty quickly like what theme I kind of wanted for our wedding, just because being a girl, you know, like you have boards on Pinterest, you know what you want your wedding to look like. But food, I didn't really know. We were kind of like, we could do this or this, and then we ended up doing Italian. We got it from Giuseppe's, which is a place here in Texas. I think they're in Denton. And that's where we got our catering from. It was so good. We love Italian food, and Spinelli is an Italian last name, so we were like, this will be really perfect. And I'm Italian, and so is my husband Johnny, so we were just like, it would be silly if we didn't do Italian food. So that's what we went with. After you know the theme and the colors that you're looking for, you can start looking at decor. And I just got like decor over time. I didn't buy it all at once. I just got some things like here, and then like a few weeks later I would get more things, just because I get overwhelmed pretty easily, and I didn't want a ton of stuff like sitting in my apartment until it was like closer to the wedding and it was like, oh, we actually need this stuff now. You see what I'm saying? I didn't want like silverware for the wedding sitting in the apartment until like from August to December. I was like, that's something we can get in like November. So if you're like that, then yeah, just spread it out, get decor as you please. Or if you just want to wait until the last minute and get it all, totally you could do that too. But after deciding decor and things, we reached out to any other vendors that we needed at the wedding. So florist, that's when we reached out to our florist. I'll put her Instagram up here. And then we also got a coffee cart for our wedding because we don't drink, we didn't want alcohol, so I'll put the coffee cart up here too. The coffee cart people were so easy to work with, literally the sweetest people ever. The coffee cart looked so cute, everyone loved the coffee, it was such a hit, so definitely recommend the Rose coffee cart. Moving on to some ways to save money for your wedding. What we did was got married in the off season and a weekday. So if you get married in the off season of like weddings, it's automatically going to be cheaper. Most venues offer huge discounts for off season just because they don't normally book a lot of weddings in off season. And then also getting married on a weekday saves so much money. I'm not sure about other venues, but for our venue, the huge like expensive days were Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday to Thursday were like the discounted days. So if you already have a venue but you don't have a date picked, or you're not even like engaged yet, so you're not planning, definitely think like, is it worth it to get married on a weekday? Because I'm not kidding, like getting married in December and a weekday, we saved I think like $5,000 to $7,000, which is a lot just to pick like what day you're getting married. To save that much money is crazy. Another big one is not having alcohol at your wedding. If you don't drink, so you're like, should we have alcohol for guests, should we not? Just don't do it if you don't want to, because it's so expensive. And it was not even a question for us to have alcohol or not, but like if we did have it, we don't even drink, so it's like we're paying all this money for other people to drink at our wedding, so we were just like not even trying to mess with that. So you can always do alternatives like a coffee cart or other types of like carts or whatever. The next way to save a lot of money for weddings is doing dried florals. When I was looking at the prices for dried florals versus live, they were so expensive, like an incredible difference, like $1,000 difference just to have live flowers. And my style is dried florals anyways, so I was like not even questioning whether I should do that or not. For the guys' boutonnieres, it was going to be the same price for live or dried, so we just went ahead and did live for those, so it was like a real rose. But for all the girls' bouquets, we did dried, and they were so cute. And then I thought if the girls wanted to keep them, they could keep them and they wouldn't like go bad or anything. Another thing you can do is rent tablecloths and really any other thing that you are able to rent. I know that some venues have rental options there, that they'll have tablecloths or like certain decor items that you can rent. So look into that, but we rented our tablecloths. That was the only thing that we rented just because it was getting closer and closer to our wedding date to look for stuff, and a lot of the rentals needed returned like the day after the wedding, and we were leaving for our honeymoon at 10:30 the next morning, so we didn't have time to take anything back, so the only thing that we ended up renting was tablecloths. But if you're looking for a way to save money, there are more things you can rent for your wedding. Another thing is buying used decor. I know that a lot of people will resell their wedding decor on Facebook Marketplace after their wedding, or like OfferUp or something. So if you're trying to save money and if you're just going to resell it right after your wedding, then look at some things on Facebook Marketplace. We are currently selling a ton of our wedding stuff on OfferUp, is where Johnny listed it, just because there's a lot of things that we had bought for the wedding that it's like, we're never gonna use these again ever for anything. And like our apartment isn't huge, so we don't have a ton of storage. So we're trying to sell it all on OfferUp. The last tip that I have for saving money is finding an alternative for dessert other than cake for wedding guests. So we had a cake for cake cutting purposes that we got from not a cake place, just like a grocery store, just for cake cutting, because we don't even really like cake, but we wanted to do like cake cutting at our wedding. For the dessert for the guests, we got donuts because we love donuts, and we had a coffee cart, so I just thought that donuts and coffee would be a really cute thing to have at a wedding. And cakes are so expensive. The cakes that we were looking at, if we were serving cake to all of our guests, were like $150 to $200. So if you don't really care about cake, then look into something else. I've seen weddings where they have like an assortment of desserts, like cookies, brownies, things like that. We did donuts, but yeah, there's a ton of alternatives for desserts other than cake. Okay, it said my card was full, so I had to delete some stuff, and then I moved the camera angle a little bit, so sorry about that. But I did want to go over our wedding day timeline because a lot of you asked me to go over it, so I want to help you with that. Our timeline was put together by me and our wedding planner, so I'll put her Instagram up here. If you are in the Texas like DFW area, I think that she actually just moved closer to Houston. I could be wrong, but she is the best wedding planner in the whole entire game, so definitely book her. I'm gonna put our timeline up on the screen so you can like follow along while I'm kind of going over it and talking about it. Tuesday, December 21st was the big day, and we couldn't get into the venue until 9 a.m. to start setting up with decorations or anything. So that's what time the venue opened, was 9 a.m. and that's what time we were able to start setting up. The address of the venue is on there. It's called the Springs Estate at Valley View. That's where we got married. If you're in this area, it's a really, really pretty venue. It's like an old mansion that they turned into a wedding venue, and there is a chapel in the back, which is where we like got married, was in the chapel, and then the reception was back into the mansion. And also this venue has 2 Airbnbs on site, so it was really nice. Me and my girls stayed in one of those Airbnbs the night before the wedding, which was so nice to just like be with all of my girlfriends the night before the wedding, and we were so close to the venue. The next morning we just walked right over there. At 9 a.m. is when the bridal party arrived to the venue, and like parents and family to help set up and everything. So we were setting up from 9 to 10:30. And then at 10:30 is when hair and makeup started, and my friend Bryn did our wedding makeup for me and all the girls in the bridal party. So I'll put Bryn's Instagram up here too. So while she was doing some of the girls' makeup and some of the girls were getting their hair done, the hair was done by one of my bridesmaids. Her name's Caitlin, and she actually just opened her own hair salon, but I'll put her salon username up here. So then at 11 is when the photographer and videographer arrived to start doing like detail shots and shots of my dress and like getting ready photos and things like that. At 11 is also when our coordinator arrived on site. And then at 1 p.m. the florist came to drop off all of the florals, which is so sweet that she like brought them out there to us. And then at 1 o'clock the DJ arrives for a setup and sound check. Our DJ was Any Event Productions. I'll put the ad up here, you know, like I'm putting everyone's up here, but yeah, he was such a good DJ. His name was DJ Smooth, so if you want to book him. And then by 1:30 the groom and groomsmen were dressed, so they started getting like their pictures with just Johnny and his boys. Then 1:30 was when the bridesmaids were getting dressed and ready, and then at 2 o'clock was when I was getting ready. My mom was like helping me zip up my dress and stuff, and we were getting photos and videos of that while that was happening. And then at 2:15 I did a first look with my bridesmaids. We did it like by the stairs, like the grand entry in the venue, and that was really, really sweet. And then at 2:30 we did me and Johnny's first look, which was like out on the balcony at our venue. So then after all the first looks were done, we started with the whole bridal party photos so we could get all of those done before the wedding, because I personally don't love going to weddings when after the ceremony they take like over an hour to do pictures and people are just sitting around. So we didn't want to do that. We were shooting for like 30 to 45 minutes for pictures after the ceremony, so we got all of the bridal party ones done before. And then at 4 o'clock is when the coffee cart arrives. They were setting up in like the cocktail hour lounge. At 4:30 is when Giuseppe's came to deliver all the food and like set all their food up and stuff. And then at 4:45 the bridal party all got together to walk down the aisle. We were like getting ready. My heart was like pounding just thinking about that moment. I was like so nervous, even though we already did a first look. When you're like about to walk down the aisle, like it's still a lot of nerves and stuff. So yeah, that was just a lot in that moment. At 5 p.m. is when the ceremony began, and then it only lasted from 5 to 5:30, and then cocktail hour started. So that's when the coffee was being served to people and bruschetta, and then all the guests went into there, and then that's when we did our family photos as well, like the cocktail hour was going on. At 6:15 the reception began and the guests were all seated for dinner, and then at 6:20 is when we started like the entrances into the reception. Immediately after the entrances and like everyone was sitting down, then we had our prayer over the food, and then dinner started. So then the toasts all started at 7:05. I think that those like actually went a little bit faster than it says on our timeline, but so then after the toast we did our first dance, and then Johnny and his mom danced, and then me and my mom danced. So then after the dances we did cake cutting, and then the donut wall was like open for whoever wanted to go grab a donut. At 7:45 is when like the dance floor opened for everyone to be dancing, and then at 8:45 we did bouquet toss, garter toss. Okay, so it says on here at 10:45 is when we were doing like our sparkler send-off, but we actually bumped that up, so it was like 9:45 or 10ish around there. We like left like an hour early just because there was so much time for dancing, and like we were dancing so hard, like going so hard, and so everyone was just getting so tired, and me and Johnny were like, we're ready to go. So yeah, we moved that up. And then we had a private last dance before the sparkler send-off, so while everyone was out getting ready for the send-off, we did our little private last dance, and it was really sweet. And then after the send-off we left, and everyone else like stayed to help tear down and make sure that everything like got into the back of whose cars it needed to and stuff, and then everybody left. So that is the whole timeline for our wedding day. We had an evening wedding, as you know from the timeline I just went over. So if you're having like a morning wedding, this timeline would definitely not work for you. But yeah, if you're having an evening one, then I hope that this helps you with like planning how you want your day to go. And that's really all that I have for this December wedding video. I hope that I went over everything that you guys wanted me to go over. If you have any more questions, just DM me on Instagram or leave a comment down below here on this video, and I will try to answer everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for all the fun videos coming this year in 2022. Bye guys!